So, there is a lot of noise about Trench Crusade since their massive success with the Kickstarter campaign, and it is not that much of a surprise, I would say. They earned above $3 million on it, so yeah, such a finish is not a joke. Especially because that campaign contained kinda completed project. I mean, the rules are still called the playtest rules, but these are good enough not just for friendly little games, but also for proper size competitive tournaments. Meta is not defined yet, and there is not that much of a broken units or mechanics, or are there any? Anyway, we got completed product from that Kickstarter, not just fairly well working rules, but also miniatures for each faction existing in the game. And there is quite a few of them. Not that many like in Warhammer 40k, but for such a fresh product it is good deal anyways, I think. So yeah, because of that massive success is not that big of a surprise. My favorite part of that game is list building and generally speaking army creation. It feels really nice because in Trench Crusade we got that modern, very simple basic rules, but in the same time that very old school list building. Nowadays there is tendency to make list building as simple as possible. Often we can play fairly like completed armies, like for example in Kill Team, where is not that much possibilities for army creation. I do not say that is bad, it is just different. And I love that in Kill Team you can just take a band and start to play. You don't need to spend time to build army list or something like that. But in the other hand, I always loved making that complicated armies, counting points, choosing weapons, etc. And in Trench Crusade I have exactly that. And I love it. And another part is army selection. I said about few factions, but well, that is not entirely true. I mean, okay, there is 5 factions, that is correct, but there are also sub-factions, and yeah, these are really different from their prototypes. Like for example these guys. When I first saw such conversion, my initial thoughts was something like, whoa, that dude is so creative, such a cool looking proxies he made. I wonder for which faction, until I realized these are not proxies. There is actual faction called Trench Ghosts. They are part of Heretic Legion, but don't let them fool you. These are completely different band of soldiers, from the mechanics and lore point of view. Trench Ghosts were formerly heretics who died on the battlefield but was forced to stay on Earth in some kind of life between hell and heaven. I mean, technically for them such a state is a hell indeed, but well, outside of the proper hell, I would say. Sounds a bit weird, right? But well, that is Trench Crusade. What did you expect, right? Anyway, I wanted to have such an army. So yeah, I made it. Started as always from an army list, to know what I would need to build in 3D later. I wanted kinda spam band. Some of you may know that I tried spam lists before with a Trench Pilgrims, but that faction is not best for such use. They are lacking of any range bonuses and there was not enough special weapons, etc. But Trench Ghosts, look, they have that -1 dice for any injury roll all over the faction, which is really huge bonus, at least on paper. And they also cost fear, which gives additional -1 dice in melee, this time for hit rolls. And all models are also immune to gas, another nice defense addition. And they cannot take witches and wolves, so yeah, that also fits for spam idea, right? Why all of that is so important? Well, because all that bonuses significantly increases potential of cheap infantry. And in Heretic Legion there is also option to make standard troops better by 1 with close combat or range. Perfect for spam. So yeah, I did it. Took 4 legionaries, I mean these guys with improved range capabilities, and gave them special weapons, flamethrowers and SMGs. I really wanted to try that flamethrowers, cause I didn't have any opportunity yet, but I realized that doesn't make sense to give this for legionaries. these weapons do not roll to hit, cause they hit automatically, so yeah, there is a waste of +1 range on legendaries. So I changed the idea a bit and gave my 4 legendaries 2 SMGs, grenade launcher and heavy machine gun. Normal troops got bolt action rifles with gas grenades and of course that mentioned flamethrowers. I mean a lot of flamethrowers. I took 3 of this. Thing is, they might struggle with reaching enemies in range, because whole faction has also that annoying special rule which gives -1 dice penalty for dashing all over the faction. I mean it is understandable, I think. There is need for some penalty. Anyway, so musician is needed. I added one but made a mistake and gave him also bolt action rifle, which is illegal because musical instrument always requires one hand, so yeah, he technically has sword and pistol. There was still few points left, so I added Heretic Priest with some melee equipment. He has special rule which allows to move one model additional few inches in his activation. It sounds really useful in rather slow army. Right, list completed and I know what to do. First needed weapons. So in the lore there is a story that after Battle of Tannenberg, I mean it should be called Grunwald to be honest, but well, that's a story for another video, I believe. God transformed all heretics who won this battle into ghosts. They were fighting against faithful armies of Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, so these were probably some kind of Germans. That means it would be nice to make weapons similar to that which Germans was using during First or Second World War. Started with SMGs. I created MP40 inspired by the picture I shown before. I feel like it really fits these models. After that I took flamethrower I made long time ago for my Prussian infantry set, which have been never really released. But it is really nice to make use of it now, finally. Just needed to make a gun part for that flamethrower, which was kinda easy. After that I took Gewehr rifle from the same set, but there were also some changes needed. That old one is so poorly modeled that I just needed to add a lot of details. But main body stayed the same. No only grenade launcher left. I made it as a German Panzerfaust from World War II. And there it is. Oh, I forget about blasphemous staff and dagger for the priest. Made an antenna as a staff, which is okay concept, I believe. But that was just the beginning. Now I needed to make bodies, and well, that really surprised me how difficult it was. I mean the first one. Rest of them I made by converting this initial one by basic modifiers in Blender. But the first sculpt took me like 2 hours, where I assumed that might last like half an hour. So yeah, all of that Games Workshop Nighthaunt looks really basic and simple, but now I think that way easier is to make a human on an orc. Basic shape for a proper goat is not a joke. I really appreciate that Games Workshop sculpts. I think these are still the best goats models for tabletop ever created. And yeah, I'm not that much of a GW lover, generally speaking, so yeah, that means something, right? Anyways, I made it. Posing wasn't that hard in that case, so yeah. Now printer needed to do the job and I could finally rest. Oh no, I mean make models from my mini factory tribers inspired by Warcraft 3 spell breakers. And yeah, that was fun too. Oh, one important thing. You really often ask about my models and some of you wanted to buy some STLs, but there was not such option yet. I ask about your opinion in case of a method. Some of you preferred standard shop while others would want to support me via Patreon. So I decided to make both options available. Thing is, I gonna start to sell all of this next year. I mean, I could do it right now, but the problem is, well, I'm waiting for a birth of my second daughter, so I do not really know when exactly that might happen. So yeah, if there would be an issue with that STLs or something, I could not really do much with that right now. I have to make a break for a few weeks, so yeah, I just don't want to start new thing and leave it without a control and potentially make you unhappy because of some errors which might appear. So I think January 2025 is a good time. I will let you know exactly how it would look like, but I'm sure that the first release will be the Trench Ghost warband. And next each month there will be new release of new models or that I made some time ago, like for example that Plague Knights, that Knights of Malta or Trench Pilgrims, additional Trench Pilgrims, because some of them are now available for sale, like for example that basic models with rifles, melee guys, and etc. And I do not plan to make voting right now, but well, on my mini factory there is also no voting yet, but I sometimes just ask people what they would want to see next. And this mention to elf spell breakers I made for such a request. It is just like sometimes I have a clear idea what I want to make, for example for video purposes, but sometimes I have no such an idea and prefer to ask you. And as I tested during few last months, I can afford both grimdark and epic releases each month, and I have also some time to make videos for you. So yeah, that is crazy. I mean, your support and the fact I can do so much in such a limited time. Sometimes when I think about all of this, it sounds to me like a pure madness. But somehow anyway, that works. Let's just leave it and focus. There is still some job to do with that ghost, right? Primed everything with a black and zenithal white after that. I added some basic colors on clothes, wood, metal, and well, I didn't have a clear idea what to do next and I almost ruined whole project, I feel. I messed up a lot on that first base coating stage, especially with bases. Chose poor colors, they were too bright and even double oil wash couldn't really make that area properly dark. And it ended with such a mess. I mean, it looks grimdark, but that is all. One big grimdark mess, I feel. I wasn't happy at all at that moment and even thought about starting over, but forced myself to continue. Decided to add some colors, so painted that ghostly parts with some kind of teal mix, but it didn't change much. These were still too messy. So I chose orange and yellow as a primary color for whole warband. Painted some parts of legendaries in that orange-yellow scheme and also created some OSL on rest of the models. These are not the same, but scheme is at least a bit similar. I mean that models to each other. Now it started to look a bit better. I mean that colored details are fine for a speed painting and dark grey. Grimdark bodies also looked okay, but the bases, damn, these are terrible. It was a must to cover this somehow or completely repaint them. Checked in the internet and found these guys. The idea is so simple, but final result looked just outstanding. With that cotton smoke, Come on, it's perfect, I love such a project, really. That's not a Golden Demon winner project, I suppose, but in the hobby point of view, I feel like that is close to perfection. Simple method, fast job and amazing results. So tried this. Took some cotton and some polyester and started to try it with already painted minis. Clear cotton looks really good, but well, a bit raw. It stands out a bit too much, so there was some color needed. Bought some cheap cans with various colors and tried it too, but well, I don't know. That doesn't look convincing enough to me. It is needed to blend that colors with environment. I mean models and bases, but it also didn't work. I was kinda desperate at that moment. Spent a lot of time for trying different solutions, but there was none which would make me really happy. There was something wrong with any one I tried. Until I done that. These goats are made of toxic fumes, it seems. I mean, that wasn't a plan. I wanted this to be just a simple spooky ethereal creatures, but I'm not a painter, damn it. I don't have painter brain or eye. I need to try everything many times to make it works. Maybe not always, but really often. It is sometimes a struggle, but I feel like any project I have already made on this channel is at least in some parts really successful. These goals are too, even though it went a bit different I was planning. And well, I hope that is not boring to watch all these failures over and over. So I learned a lot during making of this episode. First, it is always good to have a plan, but well, in the other hand, it is also needed to have an open mind and do not stick to the plan too much. And I think I have to change something with my painting method. I mean, one thing I haven't mentioned yet. I really should paint leaders of my warband separately. At that point, each captain I painted is rather ugly, or he just does not stand out enough from standard warriors. In case of trench ghosts, legionaries are more distinctive in case of painting than the leader. It would be nice to change it a bit. And that is all. Hope you liked that episode. There is more coming, hopefully this year.